Hi everyone, it's Jeff from Transient Specialists. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be spending some time on the Montana PG1275F. We'll start by going over a little bit about the test system, then we'll move to the connections on the front and the back, and finally we'll spend some time on the software and changing testing criteria from the front panel display. The Montana PG1275F is the newest in the Montana generators designed for mill standard 1275, with the PG1275F designed for the F version. One thing to keep in mind is that this generator cannot typically be used to test to previous versions of mill standard 1275, such as D or E. However, Montana has designed generators for these versions. As with the PG1275E, the PG1275F is designed for the injected voltage spikes and surges in section 5.3.3.1.1 and 5.3.3.2.1. This test system is designed for 28 volts DC and is capable of handling up to 400 volts with the DM400. Let's go ahead now and let's spend some time on the PG1275F and the related accessories. Now we're taking a look at the front of the system. Starting on the bottom left, we have the display, which can be used along with the software for selecting different testing criteria and running the tests. Below that, we have the pulse button, which releases the pulse based on the selected criteria. To the right of the display, we have the control knob, which can be used to adjust the different values. Below that, we have the high voltage, as well as the menu button. Next to that, we have the interlock indicator, and all the way on the right, the emergency stop. If the interlock isn't in the back of the system, the interlock LED will be lit. Let's go ahead now, let's get the system turned around and take a look at the back. Here's the back of the PG1275F. Let's go ahead and let's start from the left at the lower corner and let's work our way right. On the far left, we have the boost surge connections. As we work our way right towards the top of that section, we have the monitoring VP connections, and below that, the connections from the power supply and the inputs on our listens. Next to that, we have the connections for the surges to the equipment under test. And then to the right of that, we have our fuses, which are labeled F1 and F2, and our Control 2 connection. The Control 2 connection will be used with the external DM400 diode. Taking a look on the right side now, we have our positive and negative spike outputs. Next to that, we have the RS-232 and USB connections for remote operations, as well as the interlock. Finally, all the way on the right, we have the mains input, as well as our off-on switch. Let's go ahead now and let's take a look at what's included with the PG1275F. Now we're taking a look at the accessories included with the PG1275F. On the left, we have the 8.2 microfarad capacitor used for the injected spike test. Next to that, we have a series of communication cables used to control the system remotely. Just to the right of that, we have another grouping of cables which are used to make the necessary connections for the different setups. And then finally, all the way on the right, we have our mains power cable. Let's go ahead now and let's take a brief look at the user manual. Now we're looking at page 13 of the user manual for the PG1275F. We're looking at the calibration setup for the injected spike test right now. As you can see, we have our 8 microfarad capacitor used in the calibration setup, as well as the listens, differential probe, and our oscilloscope. The next few pages of the user manual provide diagrams for both the calibration and test setups for the surge and spike tests. These setups can be fairly complex, especially if the DM400 is used. When you are going out there and conducting testing, these provide an excellent resource on how the setup should look. Let's go ahead now and let's take a look how testing is conducted using the front panel display. Now we're looking at the starting display for the test system. As you can see, we have choices for both spikes and surges. We use our turnstile just to the right of the display to navigate the different menus. Now, if we want to go down to surges, we just turn it down, and then we're going to push it down to see our surge menu. Now, you can see we have options for the voltage, period, surges, as well as information below that as well. Let's go ahead and let's change our voltage to 100 volts. Again, we're selecting it down, and we're going to 100, and we're going to push that down one more time. Now we have our period set at 5 seconds. Let's go ahead and let's change that to 7. And let's hit enter again. Just as we mentioned previously, when you're ready to release the pulse based on the associated criteria, you just need to select that pulse button in the lower left-hand corner. When you do receive the unit, there's a few things you do want to be aware of to get this system operational. The first is going to be the interlock. As we mentioned previously, we have that yellow interlock button, and that's going to be lit up if the interlock is not in place. If you are running the system from us here at Transient Specialists, you're going to receive it with the interlock already in the back of it. However, if for some reason it's not, you will receive that interlock error, and the screen will be blacked out. The second is going to be the emergency stop button. You can see that all the way on the right. Now, when we do ship these, we try to be as careful as possible. However, it's possible during shipping that could have been compressed. So let's go ahead and let's show how that looks now. And as you can see, the screen is blacked out. So if you do receive the unit and the screen is blacked out and the interlock LED is lit, even when the interlock is placed in the back, try the emergency button, and to release it, just turn it right. And just like that, now our system is starting up and we can begin testing. Let's go ahead now and let's take a look at the software. All right, now we're taking a look at the automation software for Mil Standard 1275. On the left, we have an option for set communication, and on the right, calibration, test, and then at the bottom, exit software. Let's go ahead now and let's click set communication. If you are renting the test generator from us, it's going to come with a laptop that already has this installed, so all you need to do is select it. However, if you are getting this set up for the first time, it's possible that the communication to the laptop and the generator may not already be set. So to view the different port options, you just click the drop down right here, and you can see we have COM3 right there. That's where it's connected to. And then just below that drop down, we have an option for check generator. Let's go ahead and let's hit that quick just to be sure we have communication to our test system. Very good. Now you can see the ID populate PG1275F. On the bottom half of the screen, we have options for communication to our oscilloscope. We're not using that for today's video. However, let's go ahead and let's select the drop down, which just walks through some of the different types of oscilloscopes that can be used with the automation software. All right, so now that we walk through that menu briefly, let's go ahead and let's hit close. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our calibration and test menus. We did a previous video, which is going to walk through these in a little more detail on the PG1275E, which I'll put a link for on the end screen and in the description below. Let's go ahead now and let's take a look at calibration. In the upper left-hand corner there, we have an overview of the setup. On the right, we have our waveform. And then along the left and the bottom, we have some different testing criteria. One of the nice things about this software, once the communication is set up, it does provide a lot of flexibility. So if we take a look on the left side for our voltage probe drop down, we have options for 10 to 1, 100 to 1, 1 to 1. So once it is set up, you can change a lot of the different testing criteria fairly easily. We're not going to run the calibration today, so let's go ahead and let's close our calibration panel. Now let's go ahead and let's open up our test menu or test panel. And it's going to look pretty similar to that of our calibration panel. In the upper left-hand corner, we have an overview of the setup. On the right, our waveform. Just below our test setup overview, we have some different criteria there. And then in our lower left-hand corner, a waveform as well as our calibration parameters. We're not going to spend time using the software to run the calibration or testing for today's video. All right, that should complete the video today on the Montina PG1275F. We began the video by going over a little bit about the test system. Then we moved to the connections in the front and the back. And then finally, we took a look briefly at the software. We hope this video has been useful, and please keep us in mind if you ever need to rent test equipment designed for MIL standard 1275F.